Hello there and welcome into Lowcountry Money Talk. We have a lot to discuss today, and as usual, we are joined by Phil Bloyd with Revolutionary Financial Group. So nice to see you.
Glad to be here, Jessa.
Well, we always have a lot to discuss, Phil.
Sure.
We always start out too with some current events. We like to make sure our viewers are informed with what's going on, how it's affecting us, then we can dive into some more details as we roll along in the show. So, unfortunately, current events are not looking a lot better for us. We're dealing with inflation. We're dealing with higher energy prices. We're being told that food costs are going to continue to rise.
Yes. Wow.
So we have to deal with that. We're gonna make sure our retirees who are watching know what to do about those costs.
Sure.
So, let's discuss that. As costs rise, people may need to really start thinking about taking some more income from places.
Right. So
where do they do that?
Typically, Jessa, what we like to think is like, well, maybe I'll just take a little here or there. Maybe this is temporary and we'll get on through it. Well, it looks like maybe it's going to be longer term. So unfortunately with retirees, a lot of times when they're tapped for income, they just go straight to that IRA.
Right. Seems like a logical choice.
Sure. Well, we're told now that, the higher energy prices, not just gas, but also, utilities and all this, could be as much as $5,000 more a year for a family. And then we look at food pricing. I was hearing this morning, it was somewhere around 25% more. So, we've got to eat, we've got to have air conditioning and heat and all these different things. So the thing I want to talk about though is, we spoke about this on a show a while back about distribution planning. And distribution should be, when I'm retired or soon to be retired, I've been doing the accumulation planning, saving for retirement, the funds all these years. Then when I retire, I need to think about, okay, when I need income, where do I take it from?
Right. And you're talking about, maybe the intuition kicks in to take it from the IRA. And that makes sense. We're talking about some significant increases in costs. And if it's, an average of $5,000 a year and you're on a fixed, sort of income and you need more,
sure,
the IRA seems logical. But let's talk this through.
Yeah, well, here's the problem. So let's say I need an extra $8,000 this year for energy and for food. And I've already taken some out of my IRA as the normal income needed would have been. Now I need an additional 8. But the problem, Jess, is when I need 8 from a pre-tax element, whether it's a 401k, IRA, 403b, whatever it may be, I have to consider when I take that dollar out of there that it's going to be taxed.
Right.
So if I need to net $8,000, depending on my tax rates, I may need $10,000 or $11,000. So that's another slap in the face if we look at what this inflation is doing to the average retiree. So instead of just $8,000, now maybe I have to take $11,000. So what I would like people to do is just think about our previous shows a bit and say, hey, distribution planning. Do I have too much in my checking account, my savings account? Remember we said we should have about 6 months expenses in these accounts. So if these accounts are way more than 6 months expenses, instead of taking a withdrawal from my IRA, maybe I should take the withdrawals from those first because those have already been taxed.
Right.
And at least that would save me from the taxes that would be due.
Then the 8,000 is the 8,000 instead of needing to be, to your point, maybe 11 or whatever the number
One other thing
to.
I would like to say though is like that some people say, well, I'll just take it out of my Roth IRA because if I take the distribution from there, maybe it's not taxable. Well, we really, with retirees, especially early retirees, I'm like, I think we need to save that Roth IRA money for later down the road, because the cost of living and, the annual inflation, and normally 10 years from now, everything will cost a lot more. I'd rather save the Roth for then. But if I'm already down that road and, maybe I'm in my 80s, maybe the Roth distribution does make sense.
Sure. Well, and that's where everyone, it's so individualized. So talking to an expert obviously makes a big difference. Okay, we've got more expert advice for you after the break. In fact, we're going to tackle some legislative changes that are coming up. Be thinking the Secure Act 2.0. That's next.